Love podcasts, hate nonsense. It's the PoliticsJOE podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo!
The bitch is back.
Yes, for one night only.
The Bilbao bitch is back.
I assume we haven't set up remote recording capabilities.
No, not yet.
I had an idea because this will be my one podcast appearance this week.
Yes.
And I feel unrepresented on the PoliticsJOE channel because I'm going to Boston and other places from till Saturday.
So just to be clear, because you've been on holiday.
Yes.
Then also I feel didn't do any last week.
Was that our fault then as well?
I'm not blaming anybody. I would like.
What's the complaint? What is the charge?
I'm not. Oh my fucking god!
What
You're
is the
so
charge?
sensitive.
Yeah.
What is the
Jesus
charge?
Fucking Christ!
Explain yourself.
Why are you jumping down my
No,
throat?
tell me, what's the point you're making?
I was going to suggest that Harry and I do like remote ones,
Yeah.
bonus eps
Yeah,
from an evening.
I've been meaning to buy microphones
Yes,
to give to us so that we can record when we're out on the road.
but then instead of that, why don't Harry and I record?
Who's Harry?
Who's Harry? Harry Ainsworth.
Do they know who that is?
Yes, they've seen him. He's on the
Yeah.
fucking.
He bowed for the fish.
I'm not doing it anymore. This is shite.
Sorry. No disrespect to Harold.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful member of staff.
Yep.
Valued member of the team.
Yes.
Rate Harry enormously. Do we think that one of the Joe videographers should be giving their political insights on the podcast?
Do we think that I should? And who's the only person I'll be with?
Do we think that we should be having this production meeting on the podcast?
No, but he started it.
I got you guys a present
Yeah?
from Buba.
It's a bit of ASMR there, isn't there?
You should do it.
The,
ASMR it on the mic.
listen, they're watching it anyway. We don't need to do this.
For the listeners, Ava's unwrapping the present now.
Oh, they thought I was doing something else. Think we're getting enough good sounds? Do you want to start popping that in there?
Yeah.
Who the hell is this? Oh, Ed. Ed. So I'm looking at a man who is shitting.
So that's Rishi Sunak.
That's Rishi Sunak.
Yep.
It looks more like Margaret Thatcher.
And he's shitting.
Rishi Punak.
Rishi Sunak, very much so.
Oh, okay.
So it's Catalan. In Catalonia, they put that in nativity scenes. It's called a caganer, and it's which literally means the pooper. And it's included in nativity scenes because Catalan nativity scenes include like the whole town, and that's going to be really annoying for the audience.
It's ASMR.
I'm going to say that's just virtual audio. That's so bad, surely.
How's it sounding, Sean? Punak.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Ed.
Because they whisper, you know.
Actually, maybe better like that.
It's quite crude.
It's really lowered the tone of the podcast.
Absolutely.
You bringing that in.
Yeah.
There wasn't one with his boobs out available.
No, I don't think they make them in Catalonia yet.
You going up to like the carver. Listen,
Oh, I got it bespoke me.
this,
I
but
made-
with boobs.
I made it in a 3D printer.
Debates.
That someone else took a shit all over the stage.
Yeah.
Both Starmer and Sunak.
What do we think? Top line thoughts?
I thought Sunak actually came off quite well at the beginning,
Yeah.
and then I think it swapped. But both, to me, were, it wasn't like the taking part that counts. It was the choice of who was there, both being dismal. I should have worked that one out before I said it.
51-49 according to you, Gov.
St. Comrades was different, or Savanta.
Yeah, was that this morning?
Yeah,
Savanta has
so the Starmer one.
Savanta has gone with Keir Starmer 44%, Rishi Sunak 39%.
What's the other 17%?
Probably for Julie or Janet.
Gentlemen, please.
Yeah.
I thought that was a good line.
What do we think of the format?
I think it's bad. I don't think I don't know whether it's because of the people participating in it that makes it uninformative and bad, or it's the format itself that makes it bad. But I didn't think it was informative. I thought, limiting. It felt more like spectacle.
Yeah, and also the spin room stuff.
I actually quite like that stuff.
Yeah, I
It's
liked
just,
it
it's just
too.
like from The West Wing.
I loved the spin room. I'm
They just
afraid,
get,
Ed.
they're just playing it being The West Wing.
Did you see Johnny Mercer and Wes Streeting going at each other?
No.
Yeah, I thought that was quite fun. Yeah. Shall we try and analyse some of the substance in the debate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's start with Miles from Ilford. We're gonna stick clips in, aren't we, Sean? We've got. Yeah. We're permitted. Okay. Roll the clip.
Like many young people, I completed my final years of sixth form under COVID restrictions, started university under them, and I've had to deal with a cost of living crisis, a housing crisis, and an unstable world. What future can you offer my generation, and when will we become your priority?
Thank you very much indeed. Keir Starmer.
Well, Miles, what I think is really important is that you have the further education opportunities that you need, whether that's university or technical skills. I think either are perfectly, they're equivalent, they're really important. My dad was a toolmaker, so he went down the skills route. I was the first, as it happens in my family, to go to university. So we would ensure that those jobs are there for you, for the future, that you have the opportunity to get on. We'll build the houses so you don't have to be, 30-something, 35, 36 before you own a house under this government. But what I won't be doing is sending you on national service, some sort of teenage dad's army, which would be what the Prime Minister would say. Forget going on to university. He wants to send you off to do national service.
Thank you very much, Keir Starmer. Rishi Sunak.
You know, we have an enormous amount to be proud of as a country, but we do need to do more to make sure our young people, like you, Miles, get the opportunities that they deserve. So that's why we will introduce a modern form of national service. And I think it's going to be transformational for young people in our country, giving them the skills and opportunities they need to succeed in life, fostering a culture of service in our society, bringing it together, but also strengthening our resilience and security for the future. And I think it is going to be something that's incredibly positive. But beyond that, I want you to have financial security. So when you get that job, when you save for that house, we make it easier, which is why I want to keep cutting your taxes so you can keep more of your money, build for a deposit for that first house, and not saddle you with £2,000 of higher taxes.
The most common living arrangement for 18 to 34-year-olds is living with their parents. Do the young need to change their expectations of home ownership now? Do we have to be realistic about this? The young people of this country deserve some honesty. Rishi Sunak.
Yeah, it is too hard to own your own home, and I want everyone to feel what I experienced when I got the keys to my first flat, because it's a very special feeling, and we need to make it easier. And that's why we've delivered 1 million homes in this Parliament, and we'll keep building homes in the right place, but not concreting over the countryside as Labour would do. But crucially, we need to make it easy for you to save for that deposit. And that's why I want your hard work to be rewarded. I don't think we should be taxing you more, because that's just going to make it even harder for you to get on the property ladder.
Thank you. Keir Starmer, on this specific point.
I think what you raise is really important, because for young people, the dream of home ownership has all but gone. The average age for owning a home now, Miles, is late 30s. That's shocking, because I know what your own roof over your head means for an individual. It meant the world to me when I was growing up. So we will build 1.5 million homes. Picking a number requires a plan. And if those homes are going to be built, we're going to have to change the planning laws to make sure we can get on with it. We're going to have to make sure our mayors and combined authorities have the powers they need to put the homes in the places. And we need to make sure the amenities are there, the schools, the health clubs, etc., to support those homes. So we've got a clear plan to deliver on the homes that will make sure, Miles, that you get that chance for the dream far earlier than you do under this failed government.
All right.
Ava, Miles from Ilford there, asking about young people. Do you think that Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak are treating young people as an important block of voters in this election?
Well, what's interesting is that Keir Starmer thinks that his pitch to let 16 and 17-year-olds have the vote is pitched to young people. But I think the category of young people is actually 18 to 34. When they were talking about house building, I thought it was fun that Rishi Sunak said that they've already built 1 million homes over the last Parliament. And Keir Starmer said that he would build 1.5 million homes. Rishi Sunak also said that he would respect planning laws. Keir Starmer said that he would look at the planning laws again. None of that is going to help young people in the immediate future. You're looking there at possibly something that might help them in 5 years' time.
What should they do instead?
Well, sorry, I didn't realise that I was going to have to do party policy.
Well, no, I'm just thinking if you say, it's not going to help them now, you change the planning laws, that's relatively immediate, so you can stimulate house building. You should give grants to councils so that they can start building council homes, social housing. But obviously it takes time to build houses. There's not an immediate fix to this, is it? It's a process that's going to take time.
Well, what I would like to see is a commitment to that in the first 100 days. And I'd also like to see, if you're going to build homes in an area, a guarantee, a government-backed guarantee that they will only be allowed to be bought by new homeowners, first-time homeowners, and that they'll have a special government-backed mortgage scheme attached to them. That will mean, so that they're essentially social housing, but they'll be owned.
I like that reserved for first-time homeowners, because I think one of the big problems is foreign investment.
Yeah.
It's external buyers, foreign buyers using British property as an investment, and I think anything that moves to limit that, good idea. Ed?
Yeah, I think also as well, this conversation shouldn't just be about housing in terms of what either of them can do for young people. In terms of they might eventually have a house in 5 years, but they still can't afford to go out and have a pint with their mates. It's not like they're going to be. They will be happier, but they won't be living life as they want. And I don't think either of them really reckoned with like kind of the the sentiment of just young people thinking this country is absolutely fucking shit. And if your only answer is national service,
which is actually what he said,
which is presumably, like, Miles is presumably too old to be doing national service, because by the time that's implemented, he'll be, I don't know how old Miles was, say he's 19, he'll be 20, 21, so he won't be the one doing national service. And yeah, it just didn't seem like they were that desperate to appeal to people under the age of
was one of the moments
30.
Was one of the moments, wasn't it, when the audience laughed at Sunak, the first being when he was arguing about whether or not he's brought NHS waiting lists down or not. But the second, I think it was the second, was when he said, in response to this question about what you're doing for young people, he was like, we're bringing in national service. And they literally laughed at him.
Yep.
Which, I think it demonstrates, again, we've spoken about it before, that policy is not for young people. They can dress it up and say that it is, but it's not. It's for older voters. It's for older voters who think that the younger generation needs to be punished.
See, even on national service, even if people support it in the abstract, in isolation, I think there might be an attitude of, what the fuck are you talking about? Why is this a priority? In the abstract, yes, I think that would be a good thing. But also, what the heck? Like, Starmer said it, why didn't you do it 14 years ago? But also, why is that a priority now? How is that going to help me in any tangible way that my grandson has to go and give up his
Fostering
weekends?
a sense of civic pride, Ed.
Well, I don't know. I do.
In the amongst young people who the target audience are not.
Well, I don't know. I think we could do a little test to see if Ed needs to develop his sense of civic pride a little bit more. Ed, when Scotland get knocked out in the group stages of the Euros, will you support England?
No.
Right, here we go.
How's that?
Where's your sense of civic pride? Where is your sense of the United Kingdom?
Am I supposed to
Clearly,
pledge allegiance
yes.
to
Clearly you are.
The United Kingdom is not England.
It basically is.
We support Andy Murray when he's winning Wimbledon.
We support Andy because he plays for Britain.
Didn't he
That's why he plays.
No, he didn't. He's not a Scottish traitor, is he? No, he because he
Scottish traitor.
I had a false memory
James
of him
VI.
turning up to like an England football game wearing an England shirt, but it was the opposite. He went to go watch England at some sporting occasion and wore the shirt of the opposing team, I think.
Oh, really?
And English people got pissed off about it.
So he's an
English
English
people
traitor.
are always pissed off, aren't they? They're always pissed off about something.
It's just such weak gotcha.
Clearly, the Scots need to foster more of a sense of civic pride.
In England, it's a different country.
Yes.
How are you?
All right. Anyway,
Will you be supporting Scotland?
Right. Let's just pull back.
See,
No, you're missing the point. You,
England, good.
Yeah.
Scotland,
yeah, exactly.
you should be grateful
100%.
for us.
Yeah, 100%.
Give us your oil. Hand it over, pal.
Spoke to Stephen Flynn about that yesterday, actually, in an interview.
Really?
You
Yeah.
asked him for the oil.
Yeah, I said hand it over right
Yeah.
now.
What did he say?
He said, Ollie, that's not within my power. I don't have the authority to
Take
do
me
that.
to a rig.
Post-referendum, will he give you the oil?
He should do, shouldn't he?
I don't think Ollie get. I don't know.
No,
why it's going to Ollie.
I get the oil. You, civic pride. Me, oil wealth.
I'm.
This is British politics.
Keep it literal.
Yeah, no, he said something about like the SNP caring about net zero. So I said, are you going to stop new oil and gas licenses in the North Sea? And he said no. Because he loves it. Loves it.
Hell yeah, brother.
Quick follow-up. I know you said it's not just about home ownership, and you're right. But Julie Etchingham did follow up that young person question with a question about housing. And Rishi Sunak spoke of sort of his glowing pride the moment he received the first set of keys to his flat. Regular readers of the Daily Mirror will be familiar with a story from last year that revealed that he bought his first home with a 6-figure loan from his parents. So I'm not entirely sure if he can empathise with the experience.
What does that even mean, a 6-figure loan? What does that mean? What does that mean?
More than 100,000?
No, because how
Less than $1 million?
expensive was the flat?
Yeah.
Like when he bought it,
Would have been a while ago as well.
or did
so
they
that's
buy it outright?
could be pretty lumpy. It was deposit, but then the same story in the Mirror said that he's now mortgage free on all of his properties. But you'd expect him to be because
Well,
he's a
technically, I'm
multi-millionaire.
mortgage free on all my property.
No. You've got your landlords. You've got your landlord's mortgage.
who, by the way, has let me know that he's coming round on Thursday.
Oh, good.
Yeah, whether I'm there or not. I thought that was very nice.
For a chat?
Not at all threatening. I disagree with you about national service.
Really?
I think that it could, if it was played out well, it could be good. Sorry, I just got very distracted then. Really good for social mobility. I think that if you've got areas or pockets of the country where you can get 18-year-olds into working with the St. John's Ambulance Service, or you can get them firefighting, not actually firefighting, but you can get them into those sort of careers, I think it would open them up way more than a careers advisor could to like the opportunities. And if they see even their friends going to take a good opportunity, then that might push them to going, oh, I could do that as well. So I'm quite pro.
Was that not
The
prove
idea,
it? Was
I'm
that
not. I'm
your...
not pro. I'm not pro the stupid, bombastic. Let's get into the army. I'm pro the idea of look at all of the careers you could do.
Was that not kind of your point? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that you said kind of like in the abstract, it can work as an idea, but in its practical applications in the way that they're proposing it now, it doesn't.
No, I said in the abstract, people might support the idea as in young people should do national service as a hypothetical, but they might not necessarily like it as it's. Why is the focus on this now? But to go to your point on, I think that is a good thing. People exploring different careers, but I don't think they should be compelled to do that on a weekend once a month. By the government.
Yeah. Well, actually, I disagree with you. I'd push them right into it. I'd be like, you are talented. You should go and do once a month ambulance service, but you should be paid for it.
I think that there is a problem, right? Which is that our society is increasingly atomized and fractured, and people live in increasing isolation, and anything which seeks to pull people out of that is a good idea. I don't know if national service is necessarily the best mechanism for achieving it, but it's certainly one. Other ideas, citizens' assemblies.
No. But when you're talking about these isolated people in society, they tend to be troubled teenagers, right? They're not the sort of teenagers who would go voluntarily into a work placement. They'd have to do it by law, and then they would probably achieve if you've got a really badly behaved 18-year-old who's got no potential job prospects, do you really think he's going to go, oh yeah, I'm going to go volunteer at a care home?
So far better to
mandate it by law.
Yeah.
No, imagine. So you've got a 90-year-old woman, dementia, 24-hour care required, and you have an 18-year-old incel wiping her arse.
Well, I'm going to propose something. Okay, sorry. I know I'm saying things that are unpopular, but school, yeah, it's easier to go and just say it's bad. But school is, you have to attend by law.
Yeah.
So, and that's very beneficial for a lot of 15 and 16. I'm not saying it works for everyone, but a lot of 15 and 16-year-olds, if they are forced to go into a classroom where they have an excellent teacher, that might change their life, right? I'm thinking that kind of avenue, that brain.
No, look, I agree with you. I think there needs to be something done. I think, like I said, society is increasingly atomised. We live in increasing isolation. Technology plays a significant role in that. Let's not also overlook the degradation of the social realm at the hands of conservative austerity, which I think plays a ginormous role in it as well. I think something has to be done about it, and national service could be a way of achieving it. I'm not necessarily sure in practical application. I mean, the way they've proposed it, it's not.
Yeah, the way they proposed it sucked.
Yeah, it's not that.
Oh, yes.
It's not that. Should we have another clip?
Yes.
Roll the clip.
I have worked since I was 15 years old, and at the moment I hold a full-time, stable job. My children have left home. In the last few years, I found it very difficult to make ends meet, and the money simply doesn't go far enough. All I do is work to live. My food bill is nearly doubled. I'm in arrears with my bills. I spend my weekends batch cooking, so I don't have to turn on my oven in peak times. My savings are gone, and I'm genuinely worried about my future. I don't think you actually understand how this is for people like me. So what can you do about that?
Thank you very much indeed, Paula, for your question. Rishi Sunak.
Well, Paula, I know how much of a strain the last few years have put on your family finances, the family finances of everyone in our country. And that's why my priority has always been to do what I can to support you. That started with bold action, like the furlough scheme during the pandemic, and more recently, my clear plan to bring inflation back to normal. And now, our economy is growing again, wages are rising, and crucially, we are able to now start cutting your taxes. But I know you're only just starting to see the benefits of that, as you described. So the choice at this election is with my clear plan and bold action to keep cutting your taxes, to give you financial security, or put all that progress at risk with higher taxes, £2,000 worth of higher taxes under the Labour Party.
Thank you, Rishi Sunak. Keir Starmer.
Paula, I'm really sorry to hear the position that you're in. It must be really, really difficult on a daily basis. And there'll be millions of people watching this who feel in a similar position to you, that the cost of living crisis is really bearing down on them with constant worry. I'm not going to pretend that Ukraine and COVID hasn't made things worse, but this government has lost control. Liz Truss crashed the economy. They made it worse here than in other countries, and it's people like you that are paying the price, because if a government loses control of the economy, as they have, it's working people that pay the price. And Liz Truss's advisors are in the House of Lords. She's going to be a candidate at the next election. Rishi Sunak is putting her forward. We've got to stop this chaos, got to stop the division, turn a page and start to rebuild under Labour.
Paula from Huddersfield there, Ava, talking about batch cooking.
Yeah.
To reduce energy usage. And Starmer and Sunak kind of competing to tell the public that they understand how they're feeling.
I thought the opening answer that Rishi Sunak gave to her was his strongest. Do you know what I mean?
I thought it felt like the most pre-prepared.
Yeah.
I can't remember if I said this to you at the time. It felt like he had memorised it. I'm not saying he knew what the question was going to be, but it felt like he had, when the cost of living comes up, which will probably be the first thing, here's what I'm going to say. It was so manicured. It didn't have the rhythm, the meter of speech.
Yeah, it was rehearsed,
yes.
wasn't it?
Oh, he was robotic. He wasn't talking in a normal conversational tone.
But he also sounds like that all the time
as
well.
Does,
do you know what I mean? He has that. There's, I think I've spoken about it before. When you watch him interviewing Elon, his accent is completely different. He has it's kind of the international leisure class, right? It's the soft D on Party 30.
But he doesn't have it naturally. It's almost like he wants to adopt that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And in the same way, when he does his speeches, he has a different accent. And when you watch him, where was it? In the latest season of Clarkson's Farm, they go to Downing Street and meet him. And Sunak's talking to the land agent, Charlie, and Caleb, who's Jeremy's like fellow worker on the farm. And Sunak sounds so much posher, so much plummier when he's in conversation with farmers at this event than he does when he's giving a speech, when he's at Prime Minister's
Who does
Questions.
he think he is?
Yeah, social chameleon.
Well, he doesn't have any working class friends.
No, indeed.
So he had to go into script mode.
Jeremy Clarkson is his working class friend because he has a trade. He works in a trade.
I know what you mean. I find his mode of delivery, his tone of voice is very patronising.
Yes. Just seems comes across very disingenuous.
Yes.
I thought it's like you haven't actually. That's what I thought was clear. It seemed like I haven't listened to this woman in particular's problems. It was cost of living, pre-prepared speech. I don't think that is a particularly pleasant interaction.
Do you believe that Keir Starmer, when he says, "I know how it feels," Sir Keir Starmer, leader of the opposition?
Yes.
Do you think?
I do. He grew up in his family weren't massively well off.
Dad was a toolmaker, wasn't he?
Yeah, famously on a nurse, but they weren't massively well off.
Owned the factory.
Have you seen his house? Have you seen his house with the boarded up windows?
What are you talking about?
His
He lived
childhood
in a
house.
Pebble Dash semi in Surrey.
Have you seen the photo of his house?
I will not buy into this.
I mean, there's a photo of his house, and there's it's a house with broken windows. I think
Broken window. I've never seen a photo of that. I've seen a pretty nice
exists.
I'm looking for it now.
Yeah, I will happily stand corrected if
Broken
it is
windows.
if it's
I
a
think
shithole.
90%
He
sure it
didn't
was
grow up on an estate.
it was like a boarded up window. I do believe him. I don't think becoming a lawyer. He's now a middle class guy as a result of social mobility, but I don't believe that he didn't experience that as a child.
Where's this boarded up windows?
The windows don't look broken. It has to be.
Is that a modern photo?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So
Look, I'm not here to appraise whether or not Keir Starmer is.
I got
working
baited
class.
into that. I got baited into that.
You did, yeah. You went full send on that.
I think that Starmer won that exchange in the end. I think that he pulled that back when he was laughing at Sunak and saying, "There's a woman here who's saying that she has to batch cook on the weekends."
Yes.
And the Prime Minister is telling her that actually the Conservatives have done a lot to help her.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I ask that question about whether Keir Starmer understands and whether Rishi Sunak understands is because, generally speaking, I don't think either of their backgrounds precludes them from having empathy and understanding other people's lives. Generally speaking, I think that's like a rule of thumb for any kind of political discussion. But when you're talking about the orders of magnitude of wealth that Rishi Sunak has, I do think it becomes a pertinent question when you're talking about someone who is a multi-millionaire, whether that person is able, there's an extent to which you can say, whether Keir Starmer was working class or middle class or maybe even, upper class now. And class changes obviously as people go through their lives, I think. But even if you're middle class, you have an understanding of what it's like to be working class, because let's say you live in a market town and you have friends who are from a different class background than you. But when you are literally in the type of circles that Rishi Sunak is in, working in the city, Santa Monica, being married to the daughter of an Indian business magnate who is worth billions of dollars, I think at that point you're talking about so much distance from everyday experience that it then does become a question.
And
That's
the
where I was going with
specific part where he was working in the city as well, because if he'd come up as a trader, stockbroker in the city, that's the working class route into wealth in the city, right? That's how they all come up.
There's a lot of boys like that in there, yeah.
Yeah, and that's an entirely different avenue from Goldman Sachs intern.
Yep.
It just is. It's totally different.
Well, yeah. I mean, Winchester boy, right?
Yeah. He was never on the floor with the phones. Shout, He was doing backdoor deals.
Betting against RBS.
Well,
He didn't quite bet against RBS.
I'm being glib. I'm doing Labour Party spin.
Yeah. Oh, right.
it's tough. It's tough.
What he did was he bought a company very low and then sold it to RBS, knowing that it would liquidate.
Rishi Sunak was a partner at TCI. It's been reported and said by other people who worked there at the time that whilst he was working there, he was not involved in the ABN AMRO deal. For anyone who isn't interested in this, it's just the Big Short, basically what happens. No, it genuinely is. Banks have like risk versus assets. How much are they prepared to trade, right? And when RBS bought ABN AMRO, they thought they were taking on a certain amount of risk. When they acquired it, they realised there were actually billions and billions of pounds of bad debt CDOs that they were buying. And it's basically a story of the hubris of Fred the Shred, who was the CEO of RBS at the time. TCI, the firm that Sunak worked at, was very, very big and was out there saying ABN AMRO needs to be bought, needs to be broken up. They had a vested interest in that because I think they owned about 40% of it. So when this deal goes through, TCI, all of the partners get multi-million-pound bonuses. So he profited from it. It has been reported that he had nothing to do with the deal himself. But he did get rich off the Great Recession. That's a statement of fact.
A lot of people got rich off the Great Recession.
A lot got poor.
A lot of people did as well.
Yeah.
A lot got poor.
Look, why can't I don't know, oversell a company to one of our national institutions and make millions off of it?
Yeah, it's your God-given
while
right.
defrauding the taxpayer.
It's your God-given right.
If that's not a good pledge to become Prime Minister, I don't know what is.
In the interest of time, should we do one more clip?
Yes.
Okay, this is. I thought this was the most important moment in the debate. I haven't seen many other people talk about it. I thought this was the most important one. Roll the clip.
Please raise your hand if I am wrong. You, as Prime Minister, will not raise income tax. You will not raise national insurance in the next Parliament. And other than Labour on private schools, you will not raise VAT. Thank you for that instructive moment.
So, obviously, there's a bit of spectacle, bit of theatre there, doing the old, will you put your hand up, will you, won't you? Nice shot of the two of them. That moment demonstrates the similarity in the economic prospectuses of the Labour Party and the Conservative Party, because as Julie Etchingham runs through those tax policies and asks, will you change them? And let's be clear, the flagship headline taxes, right, like income tax, national insurance, we're talking about the taxes that produce about 60% of the tax revenue for HMRC, and neither of them plan to raise them. I think that is a demonstration of the degree of similarity between Labour and Tory when it comes to tax and spend, the redistribution of wealth and investment in Britain.
What Starmer, I think, couldn't get across yesterday, when Rishi Sunak was talking about the £2,000 extra that's going to be added onto our tax, I actually thought that was the most important part of the debate. I think that was the bit that I got quite a few texts from my not online friends saying, is Keir Starmer really putting our tax up £2,000? And people are going to reply going, no, you didn't. Well, I'll pull them up if you'd like. He didn't refute that at the time, because the reason he didn't refute it is because the answer is incredibly complicated. The assessments that were done based off of the plans, even a civil servant has actually penned a letter to explain that the sums done by the Conservatives are not correct. They haven't.
Chief Secretary to the Treasury, isn't it? Perm Secretary, yeah. Perm
was
Secretary,
it?
Yeah.
So they haven't correct. So what Labour have done is they've reallocated funding, and the Conservative costing has not factored that in whatsoever. That's not a soundbite answer that Starmer can instantly.
It's also
refute.
Reagan, isn't it? If you explain, you've lost. It's like the second Labour go out and start saying, no, we're not going to raise taxes by £2,000. Here's the reason is this. It doesn't matter. You've got everyone who's listening is going, fucking hell, is Labour going to raise my taxes?
Yeah.
It's the same as it's exactly the same as Cummings 350 million on the side of a bus. Doesn't
explain
doesn't matter. The second you start fighting it, all anyone is hearing is, are we spending £350 million?
You could have just went, that's complete shit.
So the argument is, so what it is they have the plan to bring in a mental health advisor into every school up and down the country. They haven't factored in the VAT on private schools, how they would recoup the money there. They've done it off an estimate that no one would pay the extra VAT on private schools. They've also said their breakfast plan, they've estimated that half of all children in the country will take up that breakfast plan. It's highly unlikely that they will. Yeah, it's basically, it's a lot of
worst case scenario.
overestimates.
That
Yeah.
gives them the £38 billion figure. And the way they've got to 2,000 is they've divided that by every single person in the country. And it's like, come on.
And not applying for like any structure,
Yeah.
like at all.
But-
But actually, that's quite a good. Rishi Sunak will be paying the same as a nurse under a Labour government in terms of tax. Like there will be no staggered tax system under a Labour government.
Yeah. And it's dominating the airwaves today as well, isn't it? That £2,000 figure. So
Yeah.
it that was significant in the sense of sort of discourse, media, Westminster. I think from a broader picture that the fact that they are both aligned on the key taxes, I think it's so revealing. For me, it was the biggest moment.
I thought it was interesting, Sunak insisting the line, if you think Labour are going to win, start saving, because that implies that people have any spare cash to save. Like, I think that's the issue of this election, that's the key thing the Tory cabinet doesn't quite understand, is that people they don't have any fucking money. And
He's not getting that hand to mouth thing at all, is he?
like
Because
it's
someone else's hand is putting stuff in his mouth.
he's a personal feeder.
He's just got a man with a bunch of
Grapes.
grapes.
But like the women at the beginning talking about she's like batch cooking at the weekend to avoid peak energy prices. He's like, well, while you're doing that, Julie, you might as well put that spare cash aside.
Yeah.
Like, as if-
Janet's gone home and she's fucking cooking.
she doesn't have time to budget, Rishi.
Did you ever see that viral video of like one of the cheapskate women who like she's so cheap that she makes this lasagna and she puts all the pots in the dishwasher, then she wraps the lasagna and puts that in the dishwasher as well
to like steam it?
to cook the lasagna. she's like, I'm not turning the oven on when the dishwasher's got to go on as well. It'll cook in there. And it like pans to her family afterwards eating it, and they're all like,
Tastes very chemically. Tastes like soap. Very fragrant.
A finisher before you depart, Edward.
Mm-hmm.
Is it okay to throw a milkshake over a politician?
I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to be so unpopular and say no.
What do you think, Ollie?
I don't know.
It's obviously nuanced.
Okay, so on the one hand, I think as far as protest goes, I think throwing a milkshake over someone is relatively benign, to be honest. I think if you look at, I think as our sort of our threshold for what we view as an acceptable matter of process has kind of come down and come down and come down and come down and come down. Like the suffragettes attacked politicians in the streets. They threw bricks through the windscreens of the cars they were driving. They threw bricks through the windows of Downing Street. They poured phosphorus through letterboxes, through post boxes. It was direct action, right? Does anyone get hurt by throwing a milkshake over a politician? No, they don't. Equally, on the other hand, it is effectively assault, and I don't know if I'm comfortable justifying that. I'm not necessarily sure where I stand on it, to be honest with you.
I think that's the difference. Isn't like people talk about like the violence against politicians in this country that we've seen more of in recent years than we have since like the 19th century, if you exclude like IRA attacks. But I think the crucial difference is it's not an extreme form of violence. There's not going to be. It's not. I don't think it's a slippery slope effect of like say this woman who did it, like the next she's not going to go out and get a weapon next time. It's going to like inspire copycat attacks of people throwing milkshakes, and that's the extent of it. Nigel Farage's dry cleaning bill is going to rise, and he might think twice about using extremely inflammatory language against migrants in public. It's a member of the constituency in which he's running, displaying. Someone who lives in the constituency in which he's standing to be her parliamentary representative, showing her extreme distaste for a very unsavoury, unpleasant politician. If he's a big boy.
I agree with you in principle, and I think that there is. Do I think that he says incredibly inflammatory things, and do I think that people deserve a platform to tell him how disgusted they are by that? Yes. Do I think that? Oh God, I'm going against everything I believe because I genuinely believe in direct action. But do I think that it's a random member of the public's duty to engage in retribution? No, I don't. And I think the reason I think that is because there are a lot of people who are incensed by someone like Angela Rayner. Yesterday there was a lot of vitriol for Angela Rayner. And I think if she had a milkshake thrown in her face, the immediate discourse from the people who are celebrating this would be, you're disgusting. She probably thought that was acid. She's probably going to be too terrified now to appear in public. Politicians have a right to walk on the street. That's how we engage with them. And so I think it should be a rule for all. If you don't want Angela Rayner to have a milkshake thrown in her face, then you can't be okay with Nigel Farage having a milkshake thrown in his face.
So I saw all the people that were like celebrating it immediately getting quote tweeted and dunked on by their corresponding enemies on social media in the right wing, who were just going and finding all their tweets from when Corbyn got egged in that mosque and being like, you had a problem with this then, why are you celebrating this now?
Was he not hit? I think he was punched. It wasn't like a
Interesting point. The man had an egg in his hand and broke it on him.
I think that difference does matter.
Yeah.
I think also
Prescott's a good one.
Prescott fought back, and Prescott was in an era where you
punched him in the face.
Prescott was in an era where you could punch someone back.
Well, I'm not sure if
you couldn't do that now.
I think there was a lot
Everyone
of
would fanny about going, oh, he only threw a milkshake. Angela Rayner would land one.
I actually think these hypotheticals are kind of redundant, because I think each case of milkshaking or whatever should be done on a case by case basis. If someone threw a milkshake over Angela Rayner because of the kind of the misinformation being done about her capital gains tax,
No.
Then I think that's an entirely different proposition.
You're missing the point.
If Angela Rayner had been standing out being racist about migrants,
no, but you're being subjective.
But I think it doesn't matter.
No. You cannot say, because I don't like Nigel Farage's politics, it's okay to milkshake him. But because if someone does it for Angela Rayner, it can only be based on misinformation. It's not justified.
Sorry, I was using that example of capital gains tax.
There are people who think about Angela Rayner what you think about Nigel Farage.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think that Nigel Farage's distasteful politics means it's justified for him to be milkshaked, you have to say that it's the same for Angela Rayner.
I believe that.
Right.
I believe that it's chucking a milkshake at someone. The worst that's going to happen is you have to wash your hair and clean your suit. Like, if people are saying, "Oh, what if it was acid?" It wasn't acid.
Yeah, no,
it wasn't acid.
100%.
I think,
I agree with you.
They could have had a gun. They didn't.
I also think a word has to be said here. I haven't seen Keir Starmer and Rishi Sunak out walking in public. Farage does it.
Yeah.
Farage campaigns in public, and I do actually think you kind of have to respect the fact that he does it.
But so does Ange. Sorry, I say that because I think she is way more at risk of an attack than Keir Starmer. I think that people are far more incensed by her than him. And she walks around all the time. What I don't like the idea that politicians will be able to hide behind this veil that it's too dangerous for them to meet with the public anymore. Politicians increasingly do not want to engage with the public, and we've seen this over the past 6 months, particularly around the Israel-Gaza conflict. Questions from the public, they have been putting up videos saying things like, I'm being attacked, when actually it's just a constituent asking a question or trying to make a point. I don't want to give them any license to not face the music. Does that make sense? Like, I think I know it's just a milkshake, I get that. Do I think that someone will spin that and say, well, next time it could be acid, so I better not go to my constituency meetings? Yeah, I think they'll do that because they're lazy.
I actually kind of think the two things are separate, and they should be treated as separate issues in terms of political violence against politicians. Obviously, horrendous, should not be encouraged, or it should not be acceptable in any circumstances, and chucking a milkshake over someone as a form of protest.
You're basically drawing a distinction and saying that milkshaking someone is not violence.
I think that's, and also it was actually had quite good cut through in terms of the presentation of Nigel Farage, also, like I wasn't working yesterday. This is my assessment of what I've seen on Twitter.
From Spain.
As I was eating some pinchos, having fucarretas. But
This is the definition of like
phoning it in.
Yeah, like the media bubble. Here's my opinion from Spain.
Yeah, but like people being like, Farage gets rapturous welcome from grateful Clacton residents versus, this furious constituent chucks a milkshake over
But
him.
it has a dual effect though, right? Because yes, you're right. It sort of punctures the balloon of his kind of how polished and supreme and executive and powerful looking he is. On the other hand, it also plays into a they will not meet me in the marketplace of ideas. They will only throw rotten tomatoes at me in the street. And I think his supporters are galvanized by things like that when they happen.
Because you know what would have still made the headlines later, or still made the reports later, is the people who were holding the banner that says Nigel Farage not welcome here. That would have still made the package. And also there were people handing out little A5 pieces of paper with Farage's worst remarks. I actually think they could have gone further. They were a bit soft. They were handing those out to people, like on tables and things like that. I still think instead of that making the package, the milkshake did. But do you know what's important about the milkshake? And I'm glad we find ourselves back here. In one of the shots from Getty, it looks like a crucifix. The straw and the
Really?
and the cup holder thing, the cup
The lid.
closer. Lid.
Oh my God.
Lid. It flies like a crucifix.
The Lord was present.
Do you know what I think's happened? Is I've been reading A Place of Greater Safety by Hilary Mantel, which is about the French
We know.
Revolution. The French Revolution, and maybe it's maybe my assessment of political violence has been coloured by my reading about the terror in France.
I think your position is justified, mate. I don't think you have to.
But maybe I've been radicalised by Mantel.
I
Whomst amongst
agree.
us
I agree.
hasn't.
It's just a milkshake. I agree, but I just think it's going to give them so much license to not walk around and talk to the public anymore.
We need to wrap it up.
Yes.
Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.